So it's day 2 at Deliver, and I'm here at the Nova Post Global stand. One of my favorite businesses, the Nova Post Group. And I'm here with Tomasz, who's responsible for business development in EMEA. And Tomasz, what I wanted to ask you is, are there some things that you think are particularly interesting that are happening today, or any things that you expect to happen that will interest our viewers?
Definitely. So, as you know, we are seeing a complete change on the landscape of e-commerce and of B2C with this new legislation that is coming in soon. So, we as Nova, we need to adapt, we need to adjust, and we need to see where can we capture the most benefit and provide our clients the best options for them. So the landscape,
maybe for the benefit of the viewers who may not all be so familiar, what are the key changes in legislation?
So basically what will happen is importing B2C items into Europe is going to become much harder.
Yeah, the new de minimis rules.
Yes, the new de minimis that it was removed in the US first. Now Europe took the step and now they're going to start charging €3 for all imports into Europe per item. So that's a big change, especially for the low order value providers. They will be very hit by this and they will have to adjust. And what we are starting to see from our clients is, we're going to need to change. We're going to need to come to Europe. We cannot no longer be importing everything into Europe. So we're going to have a footprint in Europe. So we as Nova, we need to hear to the this new developments in the world and what the clients require. And so we will start adjusting. And how do we plan to do that? First, we probably need to start go more global even. So we are already a global company, but our footprint in the global markets is still very focused in Europe. So what we are planning is, let's give solutions for long line hauls where the options available for customers are much more reduced and the costs are different. So what we are trying to do now is really build a new solution that we can provide to our clients where they can export from Europe to anywhere in the world. Go to the US, go to Australia, go to New Zealand, go to Middle East. So we are trying to set up now our environment, and with our flexibility we can put up together a lot of pieces and provide a one package solution for our clients that they don't have to worry about integrated with multiple providers that are giving them a solution to the US. So that's going to be our first big step that we are now building, and we hope to complete it before the end of this year and start really providing solutions, and we are going to start with the US.
And Tomasz, are there any, maybe the last question I'll ask you, any surprises, things that you didn't expect, either good or bad, that are happening either now or have recently happened?
Definitely. So when I came to Nova Global, the objective was really to bet on B2C. And now we don't know if we're going to be working on the B2C. So my background comes from the B2C and e-commerce. And now with these changes and being the European footprint that we have, we don't know if we're not going to have to go to local fulfillment. So expand our local networks more to be competitive enough with the current global players in the world, and probably move to B2B. Who knows? So this is something that we're having to explore, and it will come basically what our clients will require. We will adapt and we'll be able to provide them with the solutions. So this change, I think we might become a B2B company. No, more prominent. We already do it, but going probably to fulfillment, we don't know.
Well, I have to say that if there's any company that I know is adaptable and able to change, it's Nova Post Group. For those who are not familiar, since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I cannot imagine a company able to actually improve quality of performance and increase the number of lockers to the point that, and I always say this, Nova Poczta in Ukraine actually has more lockers than even InPost in Poland. So always a pleasure to talk.
Pleasure
Best of luck in
the
challenges ahead.
Thank you so much.
Hello everyone. Second day at Deliver, and I have a really interesting little chat here with John Nicholson from InPost. The interesting thing, normally I'd be speaking Polish. This is really cool. We're not going to be talking about InPost in Poland for a change. We're going to be talking about InPost in the UK and the UK. And John, if I were to ask you what is really happening in the UK locker space, what would you say?
I think we are really at that point where customers are making it their preference rather than the alternative option in the locker space, and arguably the outer home space generally. I think we're at the tipping point where people are genuinely understanding that it's more convenient for them as our lives change, don't they? We're, as we know, the normal story, not always at the office. not always at home in different places. People are realising that that fits into their lives and that there is an alternative to door delivery that really works for them. And I think we're getting to, across all of the networks, ours especially, obviously, but we're getting to a density point where it just makes sense.
And that I think, John, is the really big thing, density, because I still remember talking to a lot of really smart guys and girls from the UK who said to me, Marek, you got to understand, the UK will never be an out-of-home market. And, you know, the argument, there's a lot of good arguments. Home delivery is very successful, very high rates of delivery for the best players. But when you start thinking about the costs, the unnecessary pollution, all the other factors, and the efficiency, you know, out of home, I'm with you that out of home is coming and coming fast. Are there any specific developments when you look over the last couple of months or look perhaps into a crystal ball thinking what's going to be the next thing that, you know, you'd identify as particularly interesting or different in the UK?
I think, I'm not sure if it's new, Marek. There is a reality in the UK, as in other markets, there is a reality that delivery in all of its forms is very, very cheap, isn't it? As particularly when we compare to some of the other European markets. Retailers are obviously continually pushed on their margins, which means they've got to do everything they can to reduce, yes, delivery costs, but those other big costs around returns costs, lost in transit, things being stolen off the doorstep. And I think, therefore, the retailers will get behind this in a different way because they have to, right? They can't survive and compete with all of the entrants into that market. From a technology point of view, we're all somewhat app-driven. I think we're getting a bit more comfortable with that communication, which allows us to be a bit more convenient, be a bit more where you need us to be in terms of that collection point. From a crystal ball point of view, I think it's the same story. Continual cost pressure, we want to do better for the customers, our mutual customers, and the consumer always wins, right? They get what they need.
And I've got two questions. One I know is going to be a really difficult one, which is one of the strengths of InPost I know because I live mainly in Poland, but I'm in the south of Spain a lot of the time. And if I need to send a parcel, wow, nothing beats InPost today for price and convenience. So the price is about half of any other option. But what's really, really good for me, I don't have to wait for a local courier to come to my apartment, perhaps not be able to communicate with the person. I go to my nearest locker, or actually Pudo in InPost's case. And that's really great. But for the UK, that's still a bit of a challenge because of Brexit. How does it work? Have you now got a seamless, or will you have a seamless cross-border opportunity?
Yeah, so not just yet. So what we're doing actually as an organisation is focusing on that globalisation, right? We're really clear that the InPost service needs to be the same whether you're in the south of Spain, Poland, the UK, Italy, all of our markets. We want people to, for delivery, no matter where they are, to be as convenient as it is in their homeland. As far as Brexit's concerned, look, this is just customs documentation. Our global API, our global integration approach, which we're starting to roll out now, does enable that cross-border piece. We're not just there just yet from the UK perspective, but we will be. We recognise that we have got a lot to do and we want to join up the markets. We're seeing it in our other markets, how that cross-border is working really, really well. It's not a surprise. It's been the same in the logistics industry forever. So we're quite focused on it.
So John, last question I'm going to ask you. Let's try and have a crystal ball here. We had a debate between probably some of the best industry experts about 5 or 6 years ago. And we asked people, where do they think out of home is going to be? And, you know, they could choose between 20, 30, 40, 50, 60%. We know that in markets like Finland, it's closer to 80%, if not more. What's your guess for the UK in 5 years' time?
So in 5 years' time, I think we would all be pretty happy if we were above 30%, 30 to 40%. But we know the UK's got some different challenges, Marek, right? We've got more people that live in homes rather than flats than some of the other European markets. And as we know, highly competitive home delivery, no matter the provider, is pretty strong, pretty good service. But I think 30 to 40% in 5 years' time feels reasonable compared to where it is today.
Well, I do too. And I'll tell you something else. I'll even bet a good bottle of whiskey that it's going to be over 40%. So now we have an excuse to meet in 5 years' time, do a video, maybe here at Deliver, and I have my whiskey ready just in case, but you
Yeah.
have to have yours too.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. John, real pleasure.
Thanks, Marek. Cheers.
So it's day 2 of Deliver. I'm here with my friend Miha Jagodic from Bloq.it. And there's a reason why we weren't recording yesterday. You had a bit of a challenge getting here.
Yeah, Marek, happy to have you on our booth. The weather is getting better, so Portugal decided to have a national transportation strike, so couldn't arrive yesterday.
But as you can see, nothing stops Bloq.it. You found a way and you're here. And let's talk a little bit about Bloq.it. If you were to look at the last sort of few months or maybe year or so, what are the biggest events from Bloq.it's perspective that you think will be interesting for our viewers? And is there anything you can share about the future where you think things are going to go?
Sure, I think last year was a huge expansion year for us. We went from 3 to 10 countries. We onboarded many partners to our network. We crossed 1 million doors produced in our locker base. We crossed 100 million parcels being shipped through our locker network. So it was just very tough, very challenging, but very kind of memorable year for us. Yeah.
And that's a great success. I remember when we were talking only a few years ago, and the sort of figures we're talking about now would have been a dream.
Yeah.
But if we're going to dream a bit, then let's think about what is the next step. What are going to be the next things, the big things that are going to be happening?
Well, what you can expect from Bloq.it is to keep expanding within European countries. Obviously, we want to be the biggest deployer of lockers in Europe by far in the years to come. You can expect us to expand to some other geographies outside of Europe as well. I think there's a lot of movements and the out-of-home trends are picking up everywhere. I think there's a lot of mesh in the US. If something happens there, I'm pretty sure Bloq.it has a great chance to be around. But then you can also expect us to develop other products that will complement the out-of-home industry. Of course, we started with lockers, and this is our bread and butter, and we're going to continue doing so. But we launched our return box drop-off box. And you can expect some other complementary services to that as well.
So here you have it. Huge expansion, new ideas, perhaps new territories. I'm quite interested particularly in that. But it'd be great to talk maybe in a year's time. We see which of those things have actually realized. Miha, as always, a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for being here.
So it's day 2 at Deliver. And I have to say, I'm at one of my favorite stands, Geopost. And the reason, Herve knows, is because I spent over 10 years of my own life working with Geopost. Herve is responsible for sales, global sales for Geopost. And tell me, Herve, you've probably read, I hope, the Last Mile Experts out-of-home report. And this year there was something special.
Yes, of course, I've read it, I've seen it. It's very recent, very fresh. And I'm glad that Geopost is having the largest European network in Europe. And it's part of our strategy. So good to see that we are leading the pace at the moment.
And this is a really big deal because for many years you were just behind, and now this year, and when I say, just behind, it's a big deal to be the biggest out-of-home player by points in Europe. But tell me, Herve, is there anything when you think about the last couple of years in terms of that development, how did it happen? Was it a sort of an overnight thing or was it a long-term strategy? Can you imagine anything's changing now?
Yeah, actually, it's a really long-term strategy. It's at least 6-7 years we've started this journey. And I have to say, we speak about the size, the number of parcel shops, parcel lockers, but what's very important for us is also providing different formats. Parcel shops and parcel lockers are complementary, and also we need to adapt to the culture across the different countries in Europe. That's one specific. So the large size is interesting, but also adapting to the local markets is. Also, what we see, especially on the parcel lockers, we see some new technology with power solar panels. So it also enables, to have more flexibility into areas where we could have parcel lockers, for instance.
Well, something you said that is music to my ears, and I agree with you completely. A lot of people are getting very excited about lockers, and they're right. But lockers and PUDOs work together. They're two parts of a complete solution. And I think Geopost, more than most, really understands that.
Yes, definitely. And it's true that at the beginning we started with parcel shops, and we realized in countries like the Baltics, for instance, we started parcel shops, and very quickly we understood that it will not work. So we need to have this adaptation. And it's a fundamental in Europe, readapting to the local, specifics. In the meantime, we know that the adoption of out of home is very linked also to the density, the placement, opening hours, the user experience. So it's really a multi-factor elements, and this will grow in the future because home delivery is less easy in a way, even though we did have provided some notification, the in-flight options we provide to the consumer. But again, we need to provide different speed and different places of deliveries.
Is there any last thought you'd like to leave the viewers with in terms of either something new that will happen at Geopost or out of home or France?
Actually, I would rather say that I'm really glad of the development on the out-of-home network in Europe we have, because we do participate also to this e-commerce economy. And the out-of-home is really an enabler to this. Not only, but because of our out-of-home network, we think that we are really enabling this new economy growing over the next future.
So here you have it, largest out-of-home network in Europe, enabling re-commerce. It was a real pleasure. Merci bien.
Merci beaucoup, Marek.
Day 2 at Deliver, my final interview. And it's going to be a really good one because it's my friend Bruno. We met Bruno, if you maybe remember, in 2020.
Yeah. I think we were queuing together for a COVID test in Vienna.
So exactly that. And the reason I mention that is I was thinking, you know, a lot has changed in those few years. If you were to, in a nutshell, and we only have a few minutes, so it has to be a real nutshell, to talk about what you think are the biggest developments in the industry since then.
The biggest development in the industry. I was actually talking with a company specializing in out-of-home delivery. It's obvious that it's the biggest development in the industry. And the exciting thing at the end of the day is, with the boom of the internet, the biggest challenge for most of the carriers, we're moving from a B2B model to a B2C model, with all the challenges that implies in terms of route management, managing the expectation of an end consumer, which we're very much used to, the failed deliveries, everything that we all know they never really managed to solve. And that move to the out-of-home deliveries kind of means, in terms of operation, going back to what they were used to doing. The B2B model, fixed routes.
Exactly, because effectively B2C
orders in origin, at end,
with
fixed routes, no incident, higher customer satisfaction, lower cost. I think it's the biggest change. But the paradox is we had kind of reconsider the way we were engaging with the end consumer to make sure that we could go back to that far more efficient model that we had initially.
Absolutely. And you know, when you think about it, it's true that this change has meant that actually B2C becomes much easier. It becomes like a B2B service. But I've got one other question, because we both have, well, you're there more full-time than me, but I have a place, as we both know, in south of Spain. You also in Spain, in Barcelona, I believe.
Barcelona, yeah.
Which is still Spain.
Which is not too far from me.
Which is not so far. Looking at the development in Spain, have you got any sort of thoughts about, you know, how that's going?
The challenge in Spain is, first, it's a highly fragmented market in terms of carriers, a fragmented territory, where the biggest cluster of consumers are. So highly challenging market. Most of the carriers were used to do 24-hour deliveries. The model they had developed for e-commerce was absolutely not sustainable in terms of operation, in terms of prices, in terms of customer expectations. So moving to an out-of-home model is going to be a total game changer in Spain. And we see a big trend to engage the end consumer in that process, to make it understand that out-of-home delivery is far more efficient, far more sustainable, and much better for the end consumer.
Well, I won't name names, but I have to say that I had 3 delivery experiences. The first was when I just came out, and my Spanish, which isn't perfect today, was very bad. And the postie tried to call me, and it was a very one-sided conversation. Finally, I managed to get the delivery. The second was with a very big international carrier, where when I tried to call, I was put through to a machine. And the third example was, believe it or not, actually out of home. And I will say this one because we like the guys. It was an InPost, actually a Pudo, not a locker. I could choose when to pick up the parcel. It was actually a little bit bigger than would fit in a locker.
Okay.
And it worked perfectly. So I see developments as well.
Yeah, but that's, for me, the challenges that most carriers have always had was, how can I engage with the end consumer? They've never found the right solution. But the solution is, do I really need to engage with the end consumer? If I engage with him in the checkout, then the problem is solved from beginning to end. I don't need any interaction. The consumer is going to take care of its parcels, going to collect it, no failed delivery, no need to engage, problem solved. And I think that's a very, we've never solved the engagement with the end consumer in the B2C delivery. The only way to solve it is to make sure that you don't need to interact at the moment of delivery from following a push model, a spool. You've got to move to that model.
So Bruno and I are in agreement. It's all about allowing the consumer to be in control. Let's watch this space and see how things develop over the next few years. Thank you, Bruno.
My pleasure.